There's a weird thing happening in politics now where sounding fake is disqualifying, but being unqualified somehow isn't. You can say something completely detached from reality, but if you say it in jeans shirtless or with enough bar fight conviction, people hear it as truth. And that's the trick. We've built a culture that trusts performance more than competence. Looking authentic now beats knowing what you're doing. And once that happens, every institution starts filling up with people whose main skill is making certainty feel emotionally satisfying. This is Shrink the Nation. Let's go.
This is Shrink the Nation, a podcast for thoughtful, informed adults, preferably holding a drink and definitely holding a thought. The views expressed here are ours alone. They do not represent our employers, institutions, licensing boards, government agencies, bourbon distilleries, or most emphatically, our families. They've been very clear about that. This show is for education and entertainment only. Nothing you hear is medical, psychiatric, legal, or professional advice. We're clinicians, not your clinicians. If something we say stirs you up, that's not a crisis, that's a journal entry, or an email sent politely. We're here to challenge ideas, not diagnose strangers on the internet. And if you are in real distress, please reach out to a professional who can actually help you.
Hey, I'm David. I've given the better part of my life to the military. I'm also a board certified psychiatrist. Today, I'm drinking Cooper's Craft Barrel Reserve 100 Proof, and this is the last two. So I think it's a good start, Robbie. It's a good start.
So after a couple of sober episodes from David, we've got him back in the saddle. This is pure Shrink the Nation. This is how it started. A couple of psychiatrists who also are friends like to talk about stuff over a couple of drinks. So I'm Rob. I've got 26 years in psychiatry, board certified, and about 30 years in the military.
Robbie, I got to start this week with a dramatic reading of one of the most profound quotes I think I've ever come across. Now, I want you to imagine that the person who's sitting across from you saying this to you has a sullen look on their face. They're just staring off into the distance. Clearly, strong memories. They're lost in this moment. War is ugly. It smells bad. And if anybody's ever been there and been able to smell the war that's happened around you and taste it and feel it in your nostrils and hear it, it's something that you'll never forget. Powerful shit.
Yeah, it would be powerful. It would be deeply moving if it were on a TNT movie at about 2 a.m. and you'd had a little too much and you're just trying to wind down before you go to bed, or from an actual vet who served and earned that kind of speech. Instead, it came from the human brass knuckle energy drink. That is Markwayne Mullin.
Yeah, after being so thoroughly impressed by that wonderful rendition of Rambo, I had to find out how Mark Johnny Wayne Mullin had experienced said war because he made it sound terrible. And as it turns out, he's a businessman turned politician. Before entering Congress, he ran a plumbing company that he inherited from his father and then later expanded it into a large regional business. He did quite well. He took over that business at the age of 20 when his father became ill. And
Yep,
then
a
later
lot of
built
money in shedders.
well, it's like they say, nobody cares about the toilet until the shit hits the floor.
Yeah.
But then he did build that into multiple businesses and became wealthy well before entering politics, and then was elected to the U.S. House in 2012 and served until 2023 when he was then elected to the U.S. Senate. He does sit on the Senate Armed Services Committee. He has visited military installations. I think that might be the extent of which his military service ends. He has cultivated a very combative fighter persona politically and literally fought in a few amateur MMA matches years ago. So I'm disappointed by that, Robbie. I thought Jim Bob Mullen here went to war, but apparently, as it turns out, he didn't. He never did. He never served in the military in any capacity other than to say that he understands war. So good on him. Good on him.
He put together some poetic prose to pretend, I hesitate to call it stolen valor. He's not pretending to have had a medal. He's not alluding necessarily to personal experience. He's certainly waxing poetic about a thing that he knows nothing about. Nothing about. He has no idea what that smell is or what the sounds are. Actually, as I'm talking about it, I'm getting worked up. I'm ready to challenge him to a fist fight. And he'd probably accept.
I doubt he would turn that one down. Why does Jonathan Taylor Mullen here matter to us at all? And I imagine it's because he has been selected to replace the scandal
Deposed?
entrenched. There we go. The deposed Kristi Noem, the great Kristi Noem, from the ads to all of the immigrants to leave the country in English, as they probably understood and were totally watching.
Without a doubt.
They definitely were
Yeah.
like, time to go. So he'll be taking over for her.
Well, and the cool thing is that she has now been made an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., apparently. So, what's really cool is the Marvel Universe has entered the administration.
No, it's entered Turner Classic Movies, I think. That's what that means. I'm pretty sure the Avengers is currently playing on Turner Classic Movies. That's what I assume. That's what seems to happen, Robbie.
David, what in the hell is the S.H.I.E.L.D. of the Western Hemisphere? What is that?
It sounds like a made up name. If we're just going with SHIELD, it's the Strategic Homeland. I don't fucking even know. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Does it have, it's an acronym?
Yeah, SHIELD is an acronym that stands for the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division.
All the things, man. Just throw the words in.
But that was in Marvel, and they decided, yes, it's a long name. The acronym is SHIELD. Maybe I'm gonna hope that's not really what is gonna happen with this, because the Space Force logo looks shockingly like,
Star Trek.
yeah.
Yeah. When real life starts to mimic movies, I think we all lose a sense of reality to it.
We're talking about idiocracy, right?
We are. Let's go back to our buddy Markwayne. I'm not going to go so low as to make fun of his name. I'm going to let the audience do that. But let's ponder this guy who has developed a persona of a fighter. What's going on with him, David? What's driving this individual to imply that he has lived experience of combat?
I don't know why. I think if you've been hit in the head enough times, it doesn't occur to you that it's really easy to look up a senator's bio. In his defense, he does sit on the Armed Services Committee. So
How did he get there?
I think when he was cowering in fear on January 6th in the chambers, maybe that was the war he was talking about.
Possibly.
There's some good photos of him doing that.
Oh, there are public source photos of
Oh,
him
yeah. Oh, yeah,
cowering.
yeah, I'll share this one with you. I think you'll appreciate it. Having spent my adult life in this world, I can't understand why somebody would romanticize being in a war, painting himself as somebody who will fight and all this. I believe the quote was in him in defense of military actions. And so he was defending why. I'm not sure how that quote applied, really, but he was attempting to defend actions that and decisions that have been made to send people into war. So I guess the best way to say this is, fuck, I have no clue, Rob,
I know.
why
I don't either.
somebody who's
I don't either.
obviously not ever experienced that would walk around telling everyone that he has, or at least alluding to the fact that he has. I guess he watched Saving Private Ryan a couple of times and then got hit in the head.
Maybe that's it.
I saw it 3 times. It was hell. 12 straight hours.
I underestimate the power of Saving Private Ryan sometimes. I might need to re-watch it to give myself, several weeks of nightmares again. But what I can say, having spent a vast majority of my adult life in the military, is that without a shadow of a doubt, among our tens of listeners, there's a number of folks who have served in the military. I know this just statistically has to be true. But what I'll say is that those of us who have served, we all come into the military for different reasons, but the way you are acclimatized or indoctrinated into the military or trained, as it turns out, when you're trained to go to war, there's a part of you that actually wants to go to war. Now, I'll say there's also a very significant part of you who doesn't want to go to war. No sane individual wants to go to war. But once you've been trained to do it, you want to. So those of us in the military, we do tend to mentally divide ourselves into those who have gone to war and those who haven't. And those who haven't feel just a little bit less than those who have. Now, those who have gone to war then divide themselves into those who were there in support positions and those who were there in combat positions. And, the nature of modern war doesn't draw a huge distinction but between that indirect fire is indirect fire, IEDs are IEDs. It doesn't matter if you were in a support position or you were in a combat position. Those things were threats to you individually. But We do this. We make this distinction. And then if you talk to combat soldiers, divide themselves out into those who are in a combat position and those who are in a primary tip of the spear special operator kicking indoors doing the actual combat work. And then if you get down to those folks, they continue to divide themselves into those who did high profile missions, high danger missions, and those who did the other kinds of missions. Now, most people, civilians who not, they don't draw these distinctions. They don't think about this. They think about people who have served. They see someone in a uniform, they say thank you for your service. They do those sorts of things. What I'm, I guess, struck by is that you're never good enough. It never is efficient enough. You've never suffered enough, done enough, all those things. What is frustrating to me in this, and this is coming from a combat vet standpoint, I guess, is that his implication was that he knows this. He knows it. He's experienced it. You don't say that kind of stuff poetically. You write it in your book, whatever, but you don't say it poetically if you're not trying to imply that you were there. And this guy apparently has lost track of himself. He's lost that connection with what's reality, what's not reality. And he laid out this implication that he was there and he wasn't there. Doesn't know these things. He doesn't know what it smells like. He doesn't know what the sounds are like. He doesn't know what the aftermath is like. He knows none of these things. I find it insulting is what I find it. And we're going to probably have to change topics because there's nothing that I can come up with that I find funny about this other than that he's ridiculous. And now he's in charge of Homeland Defense. That's funny. That's irony.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He's the most educated person in the Senate.
I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong.
Okay. Well, what was it then?
Least educated.
Least educated guy in the Senate. Okay. Okay.
People make that mistake all the time. It's flipping the valence.
He has a law degree, right?
He does not, to my knowledge.
But he does have a strong law enforcement background.
No. I
Okay.
think he has a background in plumbing.
He has a wealth of national security experience, though, correct?
No, I think that's very close to zero, actually.
Okay. But he does have a great deal of security, intelligence, and emergency management skills, though.
Also zero. Also, the big goose egg, none. Zero.
If you've ever been to Tijuana and had the tacos, I could tell you that that does create quite the emergency situation. And I imagine
He may have that.
he's dealt with it. So there you go. Well, I think then he's wholly qualified.
In this administration, absolutely.
What'll probably help him is that what probably differentiates him from Kristi Noem is that he doesn't seem to have any aspirations to self promote.
I think this is a guy who's in it really for the greater good. No aspirations to aggrandize himself, I think, because someone who doesn't want to aggrandize himself would not go into a soliloquy about what war is like and not have it ever been there. So no, I think he's pure.
Don't discount the Saving Private Ryan thing. I'm pretty sure he's seen it.
It's a really distressing movie. It's hard to watch that.
I guess to segue to another topic, since we're talking about people who completely lack any qualification that hasn't stopped them from doing their job, let's talk MAHA.
Let's do that. MAHA is fascinating. It truly is.
Make America healthy again.
Again, I wonder when we were healthy, other than when we
I
were
don't-
underfed and during the Depression, we were probably healthier.
Yeah. There was that one commercial for Diet Coke where the ladies were oogling the guy who would wear jeans and take his shirt off and drink a Coke.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we want to get back to. Shirtless men with jeans doing
Do
stuff.
we want to get back there or does Kennedy want to get back there? Because I think this is a Kennedy thing. I think he locked that in. Clearly, he likes to work out in jeans. Our tens of listeners who are fitness focused and like to work out, I'm sure you're all wearing your Levi's in the gym, when you're running, when you go to the sauna. I'm sure you're in the Levi's.
I know I put my Levi's on every day
Yeah.
before I get to the gym. I find denim and long runs to be quite the combo. Skin tight denim. Well, you can warm your coffee up on your lap right afterwards. So just You just kind of nuzzle it up against your crotch.
Particularly if you're into chafing. You like the burn.
I bet the man goes through a lot of baby powder.
Tons and hydrocortisone cream. I think it's secret to success. Anyway, gosh, we could delve into that psychology. Hey, let me ask you this, David. Let's say you're driving along and you maybe hit a bear. I mean, just theoretically,
Okay.
you hit a
You hit
bear.
a bear. So I'm driving. I hit a bear.
Yeah.
I would probably freak out,
Huh?
put the bear into my trunk, and then dispose of it in a densely populated area with some forestry. I would find a park.
Random park.
What I would not do is leave the bear in the woods where I found it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, if you hit a bear, obviously you got to transport its carcass
Hundreds of miles.
to a densely populated urban area
Yeah.
with a park and then leave it there.
Yeah, funny because when I play this scenario out, that's not at all what I would do, but I'm not surprised you'd do it.
That might be a fever dream that I had.
As it turns out, what you just described is exactly what this guy did. He hit a bear. He transported it hundreds of miles to Central Park and then deposited the carcass of said bear in Central Park. Why? Why would you do that? David, help me with this. I need to understand because otherwise I'm insane. I'm crazy. I can't understand the world.
No, this isn't a judgment. It's that I think not everybody's prefrontal cortex works the same. That's that thinking part of your brain. I think that things like roundworms and illicit substances can really, really alter the way that somebody might cognitively process something like hitting a bear with a car. It really does sound like I think if I called you up and I was like, Rob, holy shit, I had the craziest dream last night. I ran over a bear. And as all dreams are, I don't know how it happened, but the damn thing ended up in my car. And I realized it as I was driving through Central Park. And I was freaking out because it wasn't bear season. And I definitely didn't have a tag or anything. I don't know how I knew that, but in the dream, I knew that. And so I fucking got it out of the trunk and I left it there. And then I took off and I smoked a joint.
I'm freaking out, man.
Craziest dream. I actually was at Jeffrey.
This reminds me of a story, and I absolutely know our tens of listeners love my stories. So, some years ago, I was hiking on the Appalachian Trail. I was hiking a very short span of it. I did my math. It was supposed to be a 10-mile out and back. What I didn't realize is that I was starting out a certain elevation. I was dropping to like 2 or 3,000 feet lower, and then I was climbing like 10,000 feet or something like that. So I did this hike and I was wet. I was miserable. And I got out to the 5 mile point and I was out of water. There was no water source there. I was in a bad way. I had made some tactical decisions that just didn't play out. So what I had to do was walk 3 miles back to the last water source. So I'm coming back. I'm dehydrated. I'm exhausted. I've got blisters actually on both the forefront and the back of my foot. I'm in ruck march mode at this point. It's just step, 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 step. And I'm totally silent because this is a thing I do apparently. I came around a corner and out of the periphery of my eye, I see movement and I kind of kick my leg up and a black bear comes out of the brush and attacks me. And I thought, well, shit, this is a weird way to go. And it swipes my boot, puts a big gash down my boot. And then me and this black bear, we get the sense of each other. We stare at each other. And I'm there and I've got a pack on. And in my mind, I'm like, what's the score? What's going to happen here? Are you going to attack? You're going to let me go? What's going on? So the black bear makes eye contact with me. Now, I am utterly exhausted. I am certain I had no adrenaline. I had nothing to give this black bear. So I'm sure he smelled the air and he thought, this is a weird scenario. This guy isn't afraid. And I wasn't afraid because I was too goddamn exhausted to be afraid. And he takes off. He runs about 100 meters, climbs halfway up a tree, and then he makes weird eye contact with me. Just weird eye contact with me. I have to finish this hike. I got to get to this water source. And there's these cutbacks. And every time I'd get to the cutback, he'd be standing in the middle of the goddamn trail. just eyeballing me. And then he'd run. And then I get close to the water source. And this is the punchline, actually. I get close to the water source, and there's a group of girls. It's a stream, but there's a pool that they're all in, and they're in bikinis, and they're having a good time.
The story just got good.
Yeah. I yell at them. There's a bear. There's this agitated bear, and they may want to evacuate the area. And they said, "What?" And I said, "There's a bear." And they in unison flipped me off and told me, "Fuck off, pervert." At which point I'm like, I don't care if you guys get eaten, whatever. And then the story continued and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that loosely associated with this. But, ultimately, had I hit that bear with my truck, I probably would have thrown it in the back of the truck, driven it to Central Park, and deposited, because that's what normal people do.
No, I think what happened was that after that, RFK Jr. arrives, shirtless, kills the bear that was stalking you,
With his bare fists.
throws it in the back of his car, drives it to Central Park, leaves it there for you, Robbie. Robbie, he did that for you. And that's what MAHA is all about, okay? It is all about making America healthy again.
One bear at a time.
So you're healthier for it.
Well, and here's the thing about MAHA, folks. If we were to reverse course, I don't know, 20 years ago, MAHA would be a decidedly left wing concept. And somehow it has drifted into a space that it is actually almost apolitical. It's both sides. And I shouldn't say apolitical because it's both sides at their extremes. Now, the core of MAHA is not unreasonable. The core of MAHA is that food is important. And the truth be told, folks, we developed as humans in an environment where starvation was the enemy. And we have now persevered into an environment where food is the enemy. We were absolutely not designed to live in an environment where there's a McDonald's on every corner. A Big Mac, as it turns out, is perfectly designed to stimulate all the things that our bodies need. It's fat, it's sweet, it's all the things. There is no doubt that at this moment in time, food is our enemy. Poor diets, bad food choices, that's what's killing us. And I can get behind that. The dietary, my gosh, if you want to be healthy, if you want to live longer, if you want to feel better, eat better. And it's hard, but eat better.
Not eating as much processed food,
Absolutely. Kill the processed food, folks.
eating things in moderation. These aren't new concepts. They've been around for a long time. Eat more fiber, eat less sugar, eat fewer things that have preservatives.
We weren't designed to eat as many carbs that are available.
Right.
You can't go to a gas station and get whatever gummy, salty, sour things. Yeah, I think we can all get behind that. But what is fascinating to me is the grift that has inserted itself into MAHA. That if they were just let's eat better, people, I'm a convert. But if it becomes, let's not vaccinate, let's do these high end IV craziness, that's where the grift comes in.
You start with something that's not sketchy. You lower the defenses of somebody by talking about very common sense, reasonable, logical things, and you have your foot in the door. Then you start to bring in this way to create an us versus them. You have the whole workout and genes thing. Trust me, not because I come with a lot of knowledge or I come with a lot of experience, but because I'm real. I'm not going to wear this expensive workout stuff that those elitists would. I'm just going to throw on my old jeans, strip off my shirt, show you my abs. And that's just getting in the door. Then you start to prove to everybody that you're not a scientist. You're not coming at them with nothing but fact. You're not coming at them with scientific research because that's elitist shit. Who has time to read an article about the benefits of fiber when really what you could be doing is taking this supplement?
That's the elitist shit. And that's what
Well,
frustrates me
clearly,
about.
that's what's so interesting psychologically is that who you're appealing to, you're being incredibly elitist. The reason that people aren't eating the non-processed, non-GMO, non-preserved foods is that it's expensive to do that.
Poor. They're poor.
They're poor. It's much more affordable to go and get mass produced, preserved things that can be shelf stable for long periods of time that have been ultra processed. But this was the same guy that was talking about there's some pretty reasonable rehab places that everyone can go to that are only like $50,000 a month. I don't know why everyone's not going to them. They were fantastic for me. Look, I'm not doing drugs anymore. Well, unfortunately, not everybody can afford that, but it's not saying we're anti elite. It's implying that we're anti elite while we are being extremely elitist. But these are great ideas, some of them. They're just mixed in with very bad ideas, like not getting vaccinated.
The story of public health is that you have to set aside your elitist views on what healthy is. This is the truth, folks, and I encourage you to Google it. One of the most effective public health initiatives that has ever been engaged in is the transition from whole milk to 2% milk. Most people get the blue gallon of milk now. That's not always been the case. The impact of transitioning from whole milk to 2% milk was profound from a public health standpoint. And that's what we're shooting for when you are the leader of the nation in terms of public health. It's not these kind of niche, eat this way, drink these things, because the reality is the vast majority of our population, they just can't do that. They don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the finances. They can't do that. When you're talking public health, which is exactly what Kennedy should be talking, you're talking what are the interventions we can do that we can actually implement into the greater population to make a difference in the bigger scope. And this jackass who hit a bear and transported it hundreds of miles for reasons that even I, psychiatrically, I can't, there's no psychodynamic frame that I can come up with that he's, oh, yeah, this makes sense. It doesn't. Brainworms and psychedelics, it makes sense there.
You'll hear stories like this from people who are manic.
Yes, in mania, in psychotic disorders, this is the kind of reasoning that you expect. You don't expect it in someone who now is in charge of all of the United States public health initiatives.
Well, maybe you're being elitist here. Maybe this is the problem, is that your expectation for the leadership in our country, especially those who are in charge of large medically based systems, should have some kind of background and some sort of credential for that. And I think
Yeah.
what we're seeing here on Shrink the Nation is that Dr. Rob is an elitist who believes that our whole country should only be run from top to bottom by people with experience, knowledge, and trustworthiness. And I think,
Yeah.
honestly, Rob, I say
I'm the
we need to put an
asshole.
end to this. Yeah, you're an asshole. You
I'm
need
the
to stop
asshole.
that, okay? Just because somebody's brain was eaten by a worm, or just because they have demonstrated chronic poor decision making throughout their lives and have no medical background or any tangible evidence that what they're doing or the knowledge that they present is correct, other than looking pretty damn good in a pair of jeans. I think,
He looks great.
especially for his age,
Handsome man.
I think that's all that we need now. What this country needs to become healthy again is to listen to somebody who has that kind of courage. Okay.
To wear jeans without a shirt. You actually, in your diatribe there, struck on something. It's a narcissistic approach to public health. Every time he does a video, what are they communicating to the people, to the public? Zero, nothing at all. They're communicating he's fit. They're communicating he likes to work out. They're communicating a weird narcissistic message out to the community about him. But community health is actually going down to the core of who we are as a society, what their struggles are, and what changes that we can make as a society in order to improve the overall health. It's not, hey, go get involved in CrossFit. That's stupid. That's not going to work. It's not drink whole milk, because a vast majority of people who are eating Cheetos who drink whole milk are also not contributing to their health. These are incredibly elitist perspectives.
Rob, I'm disappointed in you because not only are you being elitist in your assumptions, but you're also boring.
That was boring.
Start talking about public health and how people can't do things like afford expensive rectal detoxes and
Saunas.
saunas and $150,000 red light bed. What is elitist is not letting people have what they want, which is fantasy, that if they just think like that they will also be like that. Shame on you. Shame on you, Rob. Shame on you.
It's shame on me. Yes. Oh my God. Letting people believe that there are beds out there that they can lay in and that it's going to take all the toxins, quote unquote, out of their body and make them healthier and make them live indefinitely. You're right. You're right. I am being elitist. And
Yeah, stop it.
mhm.
Stop it. Shame on you. No, it's interesting. I mean, it is really funny when you break all this stuff down, the people who are really jumping on this, and it makes sense. If they touted our show as either being helpful or super unhelpful, it would help us greatly just by having our name put out into the MAHA sphere, right? Having so many people despise us or love us would at least get eyes on us. But it's interesting because, and you already said it, but it highlights this crazy intersection of MAGA and ultra wealthy, granola y, far, far left, hot yoga.
Rage yoga.
Yeah, these are the people you would expect to see in like Malibu driving $250,000 cars we've never heard of to pick up their kids after they got their yogurt enema for the day. And they're mixing it with Appalachians. And they never in the past would have ever considered even listening to it. And up until the point that he decided to just take Trump's offer of dropping out of the presidential race and then endorsing him, he wouldn't
Yep.
have listened to him either. We live in such a crazy timeline. And what I think it is, Rob figured it out as we were talking, is that when you were hiking, that bear killed you. And the rest of us, this world that you live in, is
Lost. This is the lost scenario.
this is just, yeah, you're either it killed you or like you are sitting dying somewhere on
Purgatory.
the Appalachian Trail.
Yep.
And this is just, you have just continued to live in this weird fantasy that we're all suffering through.
Yep.
And I just want to say, fuck you, Rob. Why are you doing this to us? Why do the rest of us have to suffer through this weird fever dream of yours that is
That's
this now?
it's a reasonable question.
Everything was going pretty damned well
It
until
was.
that bear thing. And then it just
It
went
was.
off a fucking terrible cliff. Terrible cliff.
The bear thing was 2018.
Okay,
Yeah,
so they weren't going super well, but they were going. They were going.
they
Now,
were going.
this is what it is, I think. This is what's happened.
Well, all right. To our tens of listeners, I'm going to extend a sincere apology that you have been ensnared in my pre-death fever dream. I am going to actually go to bed tonight hoping that it's 2018 and all the shit that we have lived through is just really a manifestation of my own stuff.
It's really sad that I kind of hope so too, Rob.
I
kinda
did
hope
too.
so too. I hope that you
No,
wake up and we're all back in 2018 and we could just go, for the love of God. No.
but coming back to Maha, because as much as I wish that, I wish I could just go to bed, have a heart attack, it ends. You guys get to move on with your lives and normalcy returns. The Maha thing, it's dangerous because it throws so many webs out that if they were to stay focused on eat well, eat non processed foods, I could respect it. It wouldn't work as a public health policy because telling people what they need to do has never worked because that's not how biology works. That's not how psychology works. What we crave is what we crave. What we want is what we want. But if they could just limit it down to that, what makes me feel like this is a grift is that what they're proposing is so many things that the average Joe can't actually implement. And beyond that, it's not public health. Public health is what can we do that actually impacts everyone?
I agree. I think the sad thing is going to be that the damage that's being done today isn't easily measured. The downstream effects over time are going to be exponential. We just won't really see that other than measles outbreaks and young children dying and stuff like that. But it's because it's not hitting home for a lot of people. They're not fully understanding how detrimental that's going to be. And we really won't for many, many years. It's the breaking down of systems that were built over time. And the truth is, and I think we can all agree that they weren't perfect. There has always been flaws to the CDC, Department of Health and Human Services. There's flaws to those systems, but they were at least steady. And if you wanted to change them, which by all means, let's make adjustments and make things better over time. Doing it wasn't by blowing them up and sowing distrust into people's minds on otherwise largely successful public health initiatives. Anyway, I think, Rob, this has been a very sarcastic laden episode. Hopefully, people understand that a lot of what we were talking about was incredibly tongue in cheek. The dry humor of it was hopefully not lost on everyone. With that, Rob, do you have any prescriptions?
Yeah, I do. Markwayne Mullin must choose whether he is a senator or a monster energy drink with a security clearance. Every Republican eventually produces one guy who looks like he wants to settle a budget dispute in the parking lot. Strongman vibes are not policy framework, they're cardio for people with unresolved father issues. That's my primary one.
That's a good one. I agree. I'm going to say that you and all of us, we need to do our next workout in jeans. I think everybody needs to slap on,
Some denim.
throw some tight fitting denim on, rip that shirt off, and really have a great workout and understand how good a workout you can have in a pair of jeans. You get extra points if they're cutoffs. Get some Daisy Dukes on, get that crotch super hot and sweaty, and then completely ignore science. 24 hours.
You want that crotch really swampy.
Major swamp ass going.
You just stimulated another for me. MAHA must stop confusing nutrition with salvation. You don't heal a nation by turning food labels into purity rituals. The second broccoli becomes the morality identity, you've built CrossFit with federal letterhead. The point is, public health is not national salad based personality disorder.
Very true. Well, I'm going to sober up.
No, you're not. You're going to go to sleep.
I'm going to get us some sleep based sobering, as one does. Thank you, Maha. I'm going to cut this episode into something listenable. So I'm excited for that.
Good luck.
And then I'm going to let our listeners know that right now we do not have an episode planned for the 17th. So if you don't see it, it's not because Rob died. It might be. It might be because he died and he's going back to reality. Maybe, maybe not. But it's because we're going to take an episode break and then we're going to be back on the following week.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that bear finally getting the best of me, nor has it anything to do with us giving up on this whole project. It's a David's a jackass.
If we can do an episode, even if we can do a short one, we will, and we'll try to get it out there. So we'll see. It really depends on what our schedules look like. But if you don't see anything on the 17th, don't worry. We'll be back the next week.
We will.
Thanks for sticking around, everybody. Appreciate all tens of our listeners. We are very appreciative that anybody even gives a shit what we have to say. Hit subscribe, hit like, share with your friends if you can. And that's about it. So we're going to cue up that music and step on out. See you in a couple weeks.